Hi guys, it's Sophie. So today we're going to be doing another of the Man Booker 2017 International Book Reviews, and this one is going to be The Unseen by Roy Jacobsen. So I think to start with this book, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the setting and a little bit about the kind of feel of the book, because I think those are the two things that kind of preside over it the most. So the centre of this book really is an island, a really isolated Norwegian island, and we follow one particular family, almost one particular woman, but really one particular family. Through a period of time, over the life of one of the family members. And when I say this island is isolated, I mean it's quite literally just inhabited by this one family. We're talking really small scale stuff. And the family are isolated, not just in terms of the people they interact with, but also kind of monetarily and culturally, and really they live this life in and of themselves. And to me that's something that's really appealing. I very much enjoy stories of rural life. I always find them really entertaining, and I'm drawn to stories about isolation. So there were kind of two ticks on my box there. I also quite like Scandi settings, so there's a few things in there that were kind of ticking my boxes before I went in. But I did think that this was really well done. Now I've heard quite a lot of people who reviewed it, and a lot of people who've written about it and the reviews I've seen criticise it because they feel it's quite slow and quite dull and that not a lot happens. And actually I disagree. And I think the reason I disagree isn't necessarily the content. I think I am pulling something different from it than maybe they are, and maybe I'm getting something a little bit different. So I really liked that it was slow, and I really liked that it was a really close examination of these people's lives, because the reality is when you're in a really rural community, life is very slow, and things like the building of a new house are events that shape people's lives over a period of time, and that might feel a little bit strange maybe to someone who's never lived in quite such a rural environment, and I get that because locations and feelings of places change a lot in towns, even in villages, but when you go out to sort of hamlet where you literally know everyone, one slight change is kind of like a whole world being rocked. And throughout this novel the changes were small, they were tiny scale changes, but for me they provided a way to mark a life really, and I like the fact that projects that were begun weren't necessarily finished within the lifetime of some of our characters. I found that a really nice way of examining a life. It reminded me of Robert Seatholler's book, which was in last year's prize, in that kind of gentle showing of an entire life. I didn't find that the characters were dull, but I felt as though the characters weren't the main part of the story, which is hard when it's such a slow story. I felt the characters were there to show how slowly life moves, and their lives and their deaths to some extent were the markers of time rather than their lives being the most interesting part of this novel. I very much saw it as a way of explaining how culture changes over time and how lives are slowly altered by the scenarios around that family. Yeah, so I think that's a little bit about what I enjoyed about the book. It's quite interesting as well because it's talking about the relationship between Norway and Sweden, which I thought was quite interesting, and also external factors like that encroach into people's lives, and some of the compromises that people living really rural lives have to try and opt into a more modern society. And I think that was really interesting as well, talking about how as we progress forward we erase certain lifestyles that were there in the past for our convenience. So I think there's a lot in there to enjoy. The writing I thought was very nice, it was very picturesque. Another criticism I've seen, which I can kind of agree with, but I personally liked it, was that it's a lot of just rural pictures almost, and there's a lot of description. I really like books with lots of description in them, so I'm a little bit biased as well, but the rural descriptions are really nice, and the descriptions of sort of the sea and small kind of natural disasters and things are really nicely put together. The language I think is very Man Bookery. If you've read Man Booker books before, you'll kind of know what I mean. It's very clear, the writing is technically quite good, and it has a kind of polished sense to it, I think is what I would say. It's not sort of got that overly ambitious tone I think some of them come with, but I think could have swayed into that character, into that sort of trap even a little bit. at times. But I think overall I didn't feel as though it was too pricey, if that makes any kind of sense. Yeah, I don't think there's much more that I really want to say on this one. It's a short book. I think it's worth a shot. I don't think it'll win, but I do think it's a nice book, and if you liked, I think it's got a whole life by Robert Seathorpe, I think this is probably a similar kind of thing, and might be one to sort of move on to. Yeah, and if you're interested in sort of a little bit about Norway and rural life as well, that might be something that appeals to you. But I did enjoy it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So I only have, I haven't got a thing there anymore. I used to have a thing there. I only have one book left for the Man Booker reviews, and that one is Compass. I have got Bricks and Mortar, but I don't think I'm going to read that one in time for the prize, so I probably won't do a full review video. And I don't know what's going to happen with Compass, because whilst I'm really enjoying Compass, there's a lot of other stuff that's going on that is a bit more important than the Man Booker is, which is really sad, because I really wanted to have all of these videos up and done, but the reality is I may not finish Compass before the prize is announced. And I know I've got loads of time, but I just don't know what's happening at the minute with lots of different stuff, so I'm focusing on other things, and one of the things it means is that I'm not reading books that are stressing me or books that are really hard, because that's taking away energy that I don't have to give at the minute. So you might not get a review of Compass, which would be a shame, because I think I would like to try and do one. If it happens that I can do one, obviously I will, but I just wanted to say that if I can't, then thank you for watching the Man Booker reviews I've done this year. I will be doing a prize reaction video for the winner, because I think they're really fun. Yeah, and I'll do a winner prediction as well, and I'll try and rank them in order of like all of the books in the shortlist in order, so we can see how wrong I am. But yes, I will see you guys soon in my next video. It's going to be my Q&A for my 5,000 subscribers. I've filmed 2 videos, one's a bookish answers and one's a non-bookish answers, so I hope you're looking forward to them, and if you've asked anything, hopefully I've answered your question okay. But yeah, I'll see you guys soon in my next video. Bye bye.